Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about understanding credit card interest. So this was a whole class activity we did together. If you missed those days in class, here's your makeup video for it. First thing I want you to do is you can get this document either from me as a paper document or you can download it and print it from Google Classroom. Read this first paragraph and answer questions 1 and 2. Pause the video now, and when you're ready to talk about the answers, unpause the video. All right, so we're back. So the first question is asking, what does it mean to have an APR of 22%? Well, APR stands for annual percentage rate. The annual means every year. So this means that you're going to be paying 22% on interest for the entire year. So it takes a year to pay all that up. You'll be paying it a little bit each month, but at the end of the year, you'll pay a total of 22%. The term interest, who pays it and who gets the money? So as a credit card holder, as the person having the credit card, you pay the interest and the credit card company gets to keep that money as their profit. Interest is, I think of it like rent. So if you say you go out and rent a car, you're going to be paying a certain amount of money for rent for that car as long as you have it. Same thing with money. So if you borrow someone's money, you've got to pay them rent each month on the money that you still have of theirs. So we'll talk more about that as we go along. This next scenario with Ruby is going to take us all the way through this worksheet, through most of this worksheet, and we're going to really develop out what happens with Ruby. So she's built up $2,400 in credit card debt. So she's made some purchases and now she has a good deal of debt sitting on her card and she has a problem with that. Her APR is 24%, so high, but not crazy high. Well, crazy high, but not for a credit card. And Ruby says, hey, you know what? I can afford $300 a month to put towards the card, and I'm not going to use it again until I get it totally paid off to get herself out of debt. So without any interest, so try questions 3 and 4 now, and then unpause the video when you're ready to talk about the answers. All right. How many months would it take Ruby to pay off her credit card balance if there was no interest? So now we can ignore the 24% APR, and let's just say that she borrowed this money from a parent or someone who's not going to charge her interest. Well, if she did it $300 a month, we need to take $2,400 and $300 and make the answer. So over here, I'm going to actually get clear. Let's just try dividing them. So I'm going to try 300 divided by 2,400, and we get 0.125. That doesn't seem reasonable. It wouldn't take her less than a month to pay it off. So I know that's not right. So then let's try 2,400 divided by 300, 8. Okay, that's probably the right way. So now I'm going to show my work down here. I can't do it for you right now, but you're going to write 2,400 divided by 300 equals 8 months to pay off. Remember to put a few words on your answer to show that you understand what the number means. All right, so now let's get back to real life where there is interest. So Ruby's credit card company calculates the interest she owes in the previous month and adds it to her balance. Let's start by using the APR to calculate the amount it would be charged the entire year. So remember, when you use the APR, you're finding the interest for the entire year. And what we're going to do is take our balance here of $2,400, so $2,400, and we're going to multiply that by our interest rate. 24%, but remember, before we can use it in a percent, we need to convert it back to a decimal. So 24% becomes 0.24, and we're going to hit equals here. And that equals $576. So $576 in interest for the entire year. Yeah, because we used APR to calculate that. All right, so make sure you're showing your work here, and if you didn't remember it was multiply, if you do the other ones, if you do 2,400 divided by 0.24, you get $10,000 in interest, and that's probably not reasonable. Like, it would be weird if it was $10,000 a year in interest. That's too high. So you can go through and just play with the numbers until you find the one that works, which is times. All right. Would it be fair if Ruby was forced to pay that entire $576 the year of interest every month? Hopefully you see the answer there is no. Before we move on, actually, do 5 through 8, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then unpause the video when you're ready to talk about the answers. All right, number 6. calculate the amount of interest would be fair to pay each month. Well, there are 12 months in a year. So if we take our 576 and we divide that by 12, we get a number of $48. So she pays $48 a month. In a year, she'd pay $576. So make sure to show your work here. 576 divided by 12 equals $48 a month in interest. So now we have our monthly interest amount. Okay. These can be kind of tricky to word. They're pretty straightforward, so sometimes people make them more complicated than they need to be. All this is saying is she started the month owing $2,400. At the end of that month, she's going to be charged $48 in rent and interest. So at the end of the month, her balance is going to be $2,400 plus $48 for a total of $2,448, what she now owes. So that's what happens with a credit card. You borrow money, the balance actually increases with interest, and then you pay some off and it decreases. And next month, it's going to increase a little bit with interest. You're going to pay it off. So it has this up and down effect. We'll see that in a second. All right, number 8, $300 payment. So she owes $2,448. So $2,448 at the end of the month. She sends in a $300 payment. Well, that should decrease this number because she's paying off the debt. So this is minus $300. So at the beginning of next month, she's going to only owe $2,148. All right, so far so good. And then make sure you're showing your work on this one and putting some words on that number saying that next month she'll owe $2,148. And here are all the numbers that we just calculated in the table for month 1 already. She starts with a $2,400 balance. She gets charged $48 of interest. We added that $48 to her previous balance to get the $2,448 what she owes. Then we wrote down that she's going to make a $300 payment. Then to find the starting balance on month 2, we simply subtract her payment from what she owed at the end of the month. And now we know how much she's going to owe next month. All right. Now here's the trick. It would be nice to be able to put a $48 here. Well, it wouldn't be nice because that would be expensive. But if we notice, at month 1, we owe them $2,400 still. We still have $2,400 of their money, and that cost us $48 in rent and interest to have that money. Well, month 2, we've paid some of that debt off, and notice now that we have less of their money now. So should we be paying less rent, less interest, more rent, or the same as before, less interest, or the same interest? The answer here is we should be paying less interest because we have less of their money. We've paid some back. So what we need to do to figure out how much interest we're going to pay is we're going to run this back through these equations. So we're going to start by multiplying our new 2148, this number right here. We're going to multiply that back by 0.24, the APR. That's going to tell us that we would have a year's worth of interest would be $515. To find 1 month of interest, we need to divide that by 12. And that means we're going to have $42.96 in interest. Well, for this activity, we don't need all the pennies. So we're just going to round that to $43. So $43 goes right there. And this $43 is interest we're being charged, so it adds to our balance. And when we add $21.48 plus $43, we get $2,191. $2,191. So at the end of the month, that's what we owe. And at the end of month 2, we send in another check for $300. So we make a $300 payment. And that $300 gets subtracted from the $2,191. So I'm going to come over here and do minus $300 and equals, that gives me a balance of $1,891 at the start of month 3. $1,891. Okay, the commas on this on the screen look like decimal points. That should be, that's a comma there, so 1,891. Now we do the calculation again to find the new interest. So I'm going to run this 1,891. I'm going to multiply it by 0.24. That's the APR as a decimal. I get $453.84. That's for the whole year though. So I need to divide by 12 to find the month one. Equals, and it's $37.82. That rounds up to $38. So here I'm going to go $38. And then this one, I'm going to add the $38 plus $18.91. So 38 plus $18.91. And that gives me $19.29 for the ending balance. So here I'm going to put $1,929. And we're going to make another $300 payment. So I'm going to subtract $300 from that, minus $300. $1,629. So I'm going to do $ here, $1,629. I think at this point, hopefully you see the pattern. Notice here that every month, because we're paying off the loan, if I have less of your money, I'm going to give you less rent, less interest for that money. So the interest is constantly decreasing here. All right. Good luck to you filling out the rest of that table. When you get that done, we can flip over and do the backside. All right, welcome back. So at this point, you should have your table fully filled in. I didn't complete mine, but then you're going to take all the interest numbers, add them all up, and put that total here. It should be around 243. If we don't have the exact same number, that's okay. The point of this isn't to get the perfect answers. It's to simply understand the process of it. So as long as your interest is decreasing through here and you have a number like 243 around there, you may have rounded up or down. When I rounded the other way, we might be off by a few numbers. It doesn't matter. And then over here, you're going to add up all the payments that you made and then put that number here. And notice that this number, you might be wondering, well, why is this number that I paid bigger than my starting balance from the money I borrowed? The difference between these two numbers is how much interest you paid. So that's the additional cost of the stuff. So if you bought $2,400 of electronics, that really cost you $2,643. It cost you an additional $243 to buy that stuff using your credit card. Okay? All right. So that's the numbers on the front side. Let's do these. So when Ruby sent in that first $300 payment, she may have expected her account to go from owing $2,400 to owing $2,100. It didn't. She owed more than that at the end of the month. She owed $2,148. And the reason she didn't pay off that full amount is $48 of her payment went to interest. So there wasn't the full $300 paying down her loan. The bank just gets to keep, or the credit card company gets to just keep $48 of your money. So here we notice that the amount of interest that Ruby is charged each month is decreasing. And the reason for that is that she owes less money every month. So she's paying less in interest because she owes less money. And this, hopefully that seems fair to you. Like, if you have less of my money, you should be paying me less for having less of it. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And this one is some math here. So if we want to know how much of our payment is going towards paying off the loan, that benefits us because we're reducing our debt. And how much of it is going to interest, that doesn't help us. That pays the credit card company. All we have to do is take that first month's payment, $300, minus $48 in interest. So only $252 of that $300 is going towards paying off the debt. A cool thing is, look at month 3 down here. We're only paying $38. So if we do 300 minus $38, we're paying $262 towards our debt. So the less debt we have, the more of our money goes to paying off the debt. And that's a good thing. We pay our debt off sooner. Okay, so make sure you're showing your work here. That's going to be 300 minus 48 equals $252 towards the debt. So add a few words there to help understand what you're talking about. All right, this next one. So read the true cost paragraph. See if you can answer 13 and 14 on your own. Unpause the video when you're ready to talk about it. Okay, so true cost is the total cost of making the purchase. So for Ruby, her true cost of this debt wasn't $2,400 that she bought. It's the 2643. She needs to consider this number when making a purchase. That'll make her think, well, I don't know if I want to spend that much money on this thing that I want to buy. It's going to cost me more than what it cost me here, just in the store. So the true cost is $2,643. It's the interest and the payments. And how much total interest did she pay? And that would have been that $243 number. All right. 15 is a whole new scenario. So this is Wyatt, and he has $8,674 in credit card debt. Incidentally, right now, that's the average amount of credit card debt that American households have. It is insane. It's going to be so expensive to pay this off. All right. If the APR on his debt is 22%, again, that's more in that normal, high normal range for a credit card. Stupid high, but kind of normal for a credit card. How much interest does Wyatt pay each month? So here we're going to do both calculations in one place. So we're going to start with, actually pause the video, try it yourself, and then unpause the video when you're ready to see the answer. All right, so we're going to start with the balance here of 8,674. So 8,674, and we're going to multiply that by 0.22, which is his interest rate. Is APR. And remember, APR stands for annual percentage rate. So this must be the interest for the entire year. That's why it's so huge. And then divided by 12, and we get that he pays $159 in interest in the first month. Now, each month he makes payments, that amount's going to go down, but that first month is $159 in interest. That's crazy amount of money for 1 month. All right. Now Wyatt's going to decide to stop using his credit card to pay it off, and he's going to do $900 each month, which is a huge payment, right? That's putting a lot of money towards this. Calculate how long it would take Wyatt to pay off his credit card debt. So at $900 a month, you might think it would take just under 10 months, because 10 times 900 is 9,000. So he'd be able to pay it off. My guess is it's going to take more than that. Let's find out how much. All right, so this table is the same as the one above, just with different numbers. So we already did this calculation. Now we need to add the 159 to the starting balance of 8,674. So I'm going to do 8,674 plus 159. And that's where you got the 8,833 number. So notice how our credit card debt started here. We added interest to it because we get charged that, and we get a bigger balance. We need to subtract 900 from that because we're making a payment, and that's where we got the 7,933. Now we just keep repeating this. We take this all the way through. So we take the 7,933 and we multiply by the 0.22, the 22% interest as a decimal. We get that for the annual interest divided by 12 to find the monthly, and we get $445 from that. So here I'm going to put in $145, and then my ending balance is going to be 145 plus 7,933, 8,078. So $ 8,078. So at the end of the month, I owe just over $8,000. I'm going to make another $900 payment, and that's going to subtract from my ending balance. So I'm going to do this minus 900, and that's going to give me what I start out owing next month. So at the beginning of next month, I only owe $7,178. And now the process just keeps going. The only thing tricky at the end here, you'll probably get to the end like month 11 or 12. This last month, you're not going to owe a full $900 left. You might owe like $600. So you wouldn't send in a payment of $900. You would send a payment of whatever you owe at the end. And then any rows you have left over will just be zeros. You won't continue making payments all the way through. All right, so keep working through all those numbers. That's it for the video. Have a great time.